originated in central Italy, influenced by other local Italian cultures, notably those of Etruria, but from the 5th century they came into contact with the Greeks, and from then onwards, the Roman Republic absorbed many aspects of first classical and then Hellenistic art. However, it never lost its distinctive character, especially notably in such fields as architecture, portraiture, and historical relief. From about the 1st century BC, the rapid expansion of the Roman Empire brought Greco-Roman art to many parts of Europe, North Africa, and Near Asia, allowing the development of myriad provincial arts, ranging eventually from northern Britain to Sahara and from Spain to Arabia. The architectural legacy of Rome, especially widespread beyond the traditional nature of the Rome temple, characterized by its high podium with prominent entrance at one end only. Roman architecture is characterized by its ready adoption of Hellenistic planning and integrated use of new materials, such as brick and especially concrete, leading to stupendous structures such as the Great Pyramid of Rome and indeed in the provinces, the Pantheon in Rome, and ultimately Justinian Church of Santa Sophia in Constantinople.
Romanist period. Romanist art emerged at the time that Christianity began to spread. Romanist paintings had to be clear and easy to read because they were meant to instruct the populace. The round arches employed in a Roman building, which we frequently seen in churches, give this period of art its name. The Gothic era. Gothic paintings depicted subjects from everyday life, like gardening and hunting. More attention was paid to the complexities of what it meant to be human as the focus shifted away from divine beings and supernatural creatures. The Renaissance period. One of the most well-known periods in history was the Renaissance, which developed artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. This time period continued to draw inspiration from the unique human being and ancient Roman and Greek art and philosophy. A cultural rebirth can be viewed as the Renaissance. The Mannerism. The relative over-exaggeration that defined this era art is the reason people refer to as Isokesht. Due to the increased freedom of expression throughout the Renaissance, artists started to experiment with their own distinct and specific creative style array. The Baroque. The development of art that favored the dignity of human life over the authority of divine persisted throughout the Baroque period. Kings, princes, and even popes started to favor the artistic celebration of their own authority and status over God. The overstatement that distinguished Mannerism persisted into the Baroque era as well, with the scenes of paintings growing more and more fantastical and unrealistic. Rococo art period. The Rococo paintings reflect the style of the French aristocracy at the time. The word shellwork or rocaille in French is where the name originates. Light, air, and desire replaced the rigid shape that defined the Baroque era. Paintings at this time were more light-hearted and playful than they were beforehand. The Neoclassicism. The precise forms, two-dimensional colors, and human figure of the classical era returned in the art produced during this time. These paintings clearly have rigorous tone. The meaning of colors has been lost. The artwork created during this time period was used all across the world to promote a sense of patriotism in the citizen of each country. Empire, Vladimir, and Louis Caesar example of classical elements. Romanticism. The art of the Romantic era lacks a clear or exactly identifiable style. The art created by German artists tended to have a more serious tone, whereas English and French painters preferred to concentrate on the effects of shadows and lights. The Romantic painters' interpretations of the world around them were constantly influenced and even criticized. The Realism period. Despite the artist's promises of realism, several critics have noted that the paintings are not particularly aesthetically beautiful and the erotic scenarios strangely lack the true sexiness. Gary argues that idealistic art should be created rather than practical art. Keller also referred to realism as a mean, highlighting the harshness that is depicted in many of the paintings. The Impressionism. The Impressionist movement is frequently depicted by historians as marking the start of the modern era. It's been argued that Impressionist art put an end to classical music and other traditional forms of art, possibly second only to Cubism in terms of popular culture recognition as Impressionism. Impressionism, which was popularized by creators like Claude Monet and Vincent van Gogh, departed from the slick brushstrokes and patches of solid color that defined many previous painting movements. The Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionist painters did not collaborate as a group. They shared similar goals and nonetheless worked individually. They focused less on external observations and more on internal visions and symbolic personal meanings. The Symbolism. The era of symbolism started to emerge in France around this time. The depiction of emotions and thoughts through this became a focus for artists. That illness, sin, and passion were among of the symbolism movement's favorite topics. Most of the forms were ambiguous, which art historians feel foreshadowed the Art Nouveau period. Art Nouveau period. Despite not being the most significant artist in the Art Nouveau period, Gustave Klimt is one of the most well-known. His use of soft, curving, abundance of flowers, and the aesthetic depiction of the human forms brilliantly defined. This fashion is referred to as the session fashion in various nations. Expressionism. Expressionism was developed to encounter Impressionism. Expressionist paintings had an unsettling intensity to them during the World War I. Expressionism used the medium of painting to disseminate these political ideals, which were intended to critique authority and the current social order. Politics were starting to bleed into art. Fauvism period. Fauvism drew inspiration from works by George Seurat and Vincent van Gogh. This style, which emerged as the first avant-garde movement of the 20th century, was distinguished by its expressive use of bright color, line, and brushwork, as well as by its colorful, forceful sense of surface design and flat composition. Cubism. The Cubist movement, which includes George Baroque and Pablo Picasso, was all about fragmentation, geometric forms, and numerous viewpoints. Everyday objects' dimensional planes were divided into several geometric pieces and then pieced back together in a way that simultaneously portrayed the object from all sides. The Futurism. Futurism is more of a political motivated artistic movement than it's a specific artist movement. Chaos, antagonism, aggressiveness, and rage characterize the futurist era. The Dadaism period. Dadaism is regarded as the forerunner of action art, which transforms paintings into something else than a simple depiction of reality and instead combines the social, cultural, and subjective facets of being a human. Now, the Surrealism. The embedded ideologies and values of the Bargos were directly criticized by Surrealism. As you might expect, this artistic movement did not immediately find favor, but it has had a significant impact on the development of modern art. The New Objectivity. Radio and light bulbs were among the popular theme for the photos featured in New Objectivity, which were frequently chilly, emotionless, and technical. The New Objectivity movement had a number of distinct branches, as is typical of many contemporary artistic trends. The Abstract Expressionism. According to legend, the first major art movement to emerge from outside of Europe was Abstract Expressionism. Abstract Expressionism, which originated in North America, emphasizes color-filled and action paintings. Instead of using a canvas and a brush, painters would pour buckets of paintings on the ground and draw with their fingers. Pop art period. Uniform color blocks, distinct lines, and curves define pop art, which emerged concurrently in the United States and England. Photorealism and serial prints have impacted both painting and graphic art. Arte povera. Arte povera, which means poor art, defied modernist current system by incorporating everyday materials into creations. To evoke a feeling of the pre-industrial era, artists employed earthy materials including soil, rocks, paper, rope, and more. The minimalism. Instead, minimalist art emphasizes anonymity, while drawing attention to the materials utilized to create the pieces through the use of pure shapes, order, simplicity, and harmony. Artists invented viewers to concentrate on precisely what was in front of them, rather than make a comparison to external realities and emotive thoughts. The conceptual art. In conceptual art, artists totally replace former art movements and prioritize ideas above aesthetic while reducing performance, ephemera, and other types of art. The Neo Expressionism. An essential component of what it means to be human is art. Many of the challenges and joy we go through can only be accurately expressed through the Neo-Expressionism art. The Contemporary art. The word contemporary art refers to the modern art. Usually, artists are still producing contemporary art today. Contemporary art is frequently emphasizes issues and ideas rather just being beautiful. Artists experiments with ideas and materials in variety of ways.
appropriate forms from Greek historical styles to create a complex and nuanced visual language where each element was connected to a range of connotation and expresses values. The Roman engagement with Greek art can be seen as a momentous and sustained effort of cultural commemoration. The equation that were so produced functions very much like part of content, and their efficacy was independent of the knowledge and their precise sources. The creation of exact replicas of earlier works, a characteristic of Roman art, demonstrate that, generally speaking, the Greek root of the Roman system of visual topoi were never lost. In conclusion, the architecture, methodology, and religion of the Roman people were inspired by art. Modern sculptures, statues, and paintings can be seen using ancient Roman styles and techniques to varying degrees.
Lastly, Roman interest in Greek art can be understood as a significant and ongoing act of cultural remembrance. Roman art is known for producing identical reproductions of older pieces, which shows that, generally speaking, the Roman system of visual topoi's Greek roots were never forgotten. Ancient Roman styles and technique are still used to varying degrees in contemporary sculptures, statues, and paintings.